When you're embarking on a building project, the most important step before you engage a builder or a designer is to do your due diligence. If you don't have a good understanding of why you're building, what you're building, where you're building, then when you start to get people involved, you are going to get confused and sidetracked, and you're going to end up with something that's not quite what you originally intended it to be. By having a really good understanding of why you're building, people like me can help you achieve your dream. This is Building Explained. Over the next 20 episodes, we will cover everything building start to finish, going into depth about the building process, giving you tips, tricks, things you don't know that you need to know. It's really easy, and you probably learned it in primary school, the 5 W's. Why, what, where, when, who. Let's start with the why. It sounds really simple, but you need to clarify in your own mind. Why are you embarking on a building project? Is it to gain extra space? Is it to improve your quality of life? Is it a lifelong dream? Is it for investment purposes? Are you trying to get even more capital gains out of your property? All of those are great reasons, but they lead to different approaches and different outcomes. If this is purely an investment move, you're not going to spend money on it the way it would be if it was a dream home or a creative outlet. We took on a section in Central Upper Hutt. We designed it in a way that we'd be happy to live in it ourselves, but we knew from day one that we were doing what's called a spec home. We were building it to put on the market straight away. As we made decisions about what's going in that home, the amount of energy and time and emotion that we put into different decisions, we had a really clear brief in mind. It didn't mean that we cut corners, it didn't mean that we did a lesser job, it just meant we didn't get so emotionally involved in the final outcome. Sometimes that leads to better decisions anyway. Then on the other side of the coin, when I took on the section nobody wanted, I had looked at that section 5 times over 5 years. It was a passion project, it was a family home, it was something where I wanted to put my own time and energy into making it look and feel like my house. Once you understand why you're building, you can now answer the question, what are you building? Obviously, you're building something, but is it a reno? Is it an extension? Is it a new build? Is it a tiny home? Is it a large home? Is it a dream home? Those two questions, why and what, come hand in hand, but they are two different approaches because there's 2 or 3 ways to achieve your why. Once you've decided on the why, that will help you and your designer and your builder establish the what. The what is a collaboration, and it's not just coming from you. Think about it as a broad overview of how you're going to achieve that why. A great example of this is the 1,000-hour reno we did in Central Upper Hutt. We looked at 2 options to achieve our why. One of them was extending out the house, and one of them was not touching the external footprint and rejigging the internal walls. In the end, we went for the second option where we didn't extend the house because part of our clear why was having the lowest amount of debt possible over the property. Option 2 ticked both our improving space goal and having low debt goal. That leads us into point number 3, where. Now, it sounds obvious if you own a house, you're going to renovate where you are, but one of the things is by thinking about your why, you also can then think, is this property where I want to invest 200, 300, 400 grand? Is this the place where I want to live for the next 10 years? Is this where I see myself? Don't get swept up in the only sections available in my area are this and this and this. Stand back and think about, where do I see myself living long term? Obviously you need a property to build on, but are you buying new? Are you using your existing property? Is your existing property even where you want to end up long term? Is it worth moving first, then investing that time and energy into your project? And you might even find somewhere existing that ticks all your boxes anyway, so you avoid this whole building process. And that's okay too. If you haven't already and you're still watching this vid, go ahead, click the subscribe button for more process videos like this. So that's the where. So when is an important question as well. Now, when are you going to take on this project? If you're like me, you probably want to do it immediately, right now, yesterday. I know that building's fun and exciting and it's so cool to see changes happening, but it's also stressful and intrusive and loud. And it can be time consuming. One of the things you need to think about is if you've got other big things going on in your life, building is a focal point. It takes a lot of your energy. It needs to be front and center so that you can give your project the time and energy it needs without you getting burnt out and without your builder and your designer not being able to get the information they need from you. So have a think about when is the best time to take this on. Also have a think about being realistic about how long it will take. Some clients I've journeyed with for over a year before we've even started doing anything on site, and then their house is another year. So you're talking about a 2 to 3 year process from very first idea to completion of that last blade of grass, and sometimes a project's never completed. I'm not trying to scare you off. Forewarned is forearmed, and so by understanding that, you can set your expectations. We've got a baby on the way. We know that that's a stressful time. Let's not build for the next year, but let's think about it at this date on this time. Again, when I took on the section nobody wanted, if I had taken it on earlier in my life, I wouldn't have been in the right financial position, I wouldn't have been in the right headspace. By waiting for the right time in my life, I was able to give that project everything it needed from me. If you want more Building Explained videos, you can find them in this playlist here. And our last W, who? Who is your team? Who is your designer? Who is your builder? And more importantly, how do you work out who to align yourself with? It really is a collaboration between 3, 4, 5 different parties. Building can be this 2-3 year project, and so you want to align yourself with people that you are going to enjoy talking to for those 2 to 3 years. You want to feel like there's a connection, a vibe going on. You don't want to dread every conversation with these people. One of the things I do is start with a designer or a builder. Now, a lot of builders, they don't want to know about you until you've got plans. Me personally, I have designers that I prefer to work with. So if you come to me, I will send you to a designer that I know that have a good working relationship with me and you. Same with the designers. There's a lot of designers that have their preferred builders. So by picking one of those two as your starting point, you will get pointed in the right direction. Your builder or your designer will also be able to help you work out if you need a consent. They'll be able to give you a rough estimate of costs. They'll also work through you establishing your brief. If you're not sure exactly what questions to ask about your project, give them a little bit of a brief about what you're doing and say, have you done anything similar before? Can you tell me about something similar you've done? Can you tell me how you would approach this project? Those would be 3 great questions to ask your builder or your designer. So that's it. We've told you the 5 W's. Number 1, establish your why. Why do you want to embark on a building project? Number 2, what are you going to do to achieve that why? Where are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? Is now the right time? And who is on your team? All very important things to figure out before you get involved with the building process. And I'm going to take this phone call. Yo, Duncan. Good man, you?